First episode begins with the upbeat New York Groove by Ace Frehley playing as men in an armored garbage truck collect dead walkers and take them back to a church. Inside, we see a network of vats, with the walkers being dumped into them. As they decompose, methane is sucked into tubes and boom, the lights of Radio City Hall come back on. We then cut to Maggie trying to teach Hershel how to hunt as Jinny follows close behind. Back home, Maggie catches Hershel staring at his foot, now partially mangled due to the Dama cutting off one of his pinky toes. Mother and son might be back together again, but there's a quiet sadness between them. Maggie speaks about Hershel catching lightning bugs when he was a child. That makes them smile briefly, at least. Later, at the community, a group of military trucks arrive, with one pulling along a running man tied to the back. Among the group is Charlie Bird, the governor of New Babylon. With her is Pearlie Armstrong, who has been lying about bringing Negan to justice. He gives a speech to the residents about how great New York City used to be, but New Babylon wants to bring it back to inspire and spread hope. They have been going from town to town drafting soldiers to explore Manhattan. The community members begin to grumble, so the tied-up man is brought forward by Major Lucia Narvaez. He fled being drafted, so he is made an example of by being hung in front of everyone. New Babylon has a historian named Benjamin Pierce who raves about New York City, but Hershel laughs at the total bullshit. He's seen how bad the city really is. He draws a picture of the New York he knows for Pierce. He's fascinated, but an observant Maggie looks worried. She then speaks to Armstrong about his lie about killing Negan, who admits that he did it to protect him. Armstrong tells Maggie she is being drafted into New Babylon's army. They badly need the methane operation on the island so that others can live. Maggie agrees to return to New York, but only if no one else is drafted against their will. And now we have a way to put Maggie back in Manhattan again. We're then introduced to Negan, sitting in a cell and being guarded by a man who treats him kindly and gives him food. With no one else around, he pulls out a violin and plays for Negan, who sits back and closes his eyes, taking in the music. However, that only lasts a few seconds, as the Croat shows up, telling Negan that he needs to listen to him. He wants to know where Hershel is, but Negan says he is safe, and to reach him, he would have to go through Maggie, who would rip his throat out. This is not the answer the Croat wanted, who says that things will have to escalate. The Croat and a few of his men take Negan back to the Dama at the church where she lives. They know that New Babylon is coming, so they want Negan to help get 3 New York groups to form an alliance to fight the invaders. There is going to be a meeting that night, and Dama needs Negan to manipulate or get them to fear him so much that they will join. He has said no to her before and says no again. The Dama was expecting this, so she tells Negan that his wife and child have been taken captive and are now being brought to the island. With this development, Negan will have to help them to save his family. To try to cheer Negan up, the Croat brings him a bat wrapped in barbed wire, just like the original Lucille. It has been improved, though, as we'll later see. Negan doesn't appreciate the gift, but he has to go with Croat and his men anyway to meet Bugal, who is running a type of walker fight club, with the winning walker being an absolute behemoth. Armstrong speaks to Bird and Narvaez about how important it is to bring someone as talented as Maggie along willingly. They want her to prove her worth, so in front of everyone, Maggie is forced to fight a group of walkers in a fenced-in area. Anyone else intending to enlist is asked to step up. Only Jinny does, despite Maggie's pleas. The two fight together, and although there are some close calls, they are victorious. Because Maggie lived, she has saved everyone else. It's also showtime for Negan, who is brought out at the meeting of the 3 groups in Dama's church, almost like it's a stage to put on his old act. He's cocky, which Bugal and the Croat love, as he speaks about New Babylon, now heading to New York to enforce laws on everyone. He is interrupted by the leader of one group named Christos, who isn't interested in joining and bending the knee. The other groups agree with him, so the Croat tosses the new Lucille to Negan. The bat seems to energize him. He tells Christos that everyone will fight with him because he says so. He points Lucille at Christos and shows off the bat's new trick, as it electrocutes the man, temporarily knocking him out. Meanwhile, unable to dissuade Jinny, Hershel says she's going with them back to New York, but Maggie tells him no. Hershel is angry about how she holds on to Negan, and she can't understand why he would want to go back to a city that hurt him. She asks if the city has a hold on him and pulls out a drawing of the Dama, wanting to know who this woman is. Maggie cries as she tells Hershel that being with him and getting better has meant so much to her. But she now has to go, so he doesn't have to. As the episode ends, both Negan and Maggie are being controlled by others in an effort to save those they love. With Hershel smiling as he stares at his drawings of New York City, there might be other things to worry about too. Second episode begins with Negan alone in his open cell when Victor stops by. Negan is sad and quiet, in no mood to talk for once, but Victor sits with him and plays his violin, bringing peace to Negan. Meanwhile, Charlie Bird is talking to her lead troops about how to advance on New York City for what is only supposed to be an exploratory mission, but Major Lucia Narvaez doesn't like it when Maggie tries to listen in. Colonel Pearlie Armstrong goes to Maggie, who is upset by their plan to show up on a ferry because she knows the Croat will easily see them. Armstrong is willing to help get the plan changed, but he needs more from Maggie than a hunch. New Lucille in hand, Negan goes with the Croat to see the Dama, who does in fact know that New Babylon is coming. Christos and Bugal have yet to join them, so only one group will attack the ferry. Dama asks Negan what he thinks about the attack plan, or is he too distracted by his family's arrival? It's a jab at the man she now controls, through the ones he loves. Negan says they need to do more with a 4th of July-like show to really scare everyone on both sides. At the camp, Maggie speaks to Jinny, telling the girl that she's here for her. Their talk doesn't last long, as they see black smoke in the distance. Maggie checks it out, finding a small tire fire, a signal from the Croat. It's then that Hershel appears. He followed behind on horseback, not willing to sit back as his mom has been kidnapped. New Babylon forces catch them and take them in, with Narvaez making the absurd claim that Maggie was deserting. Armstrong defends her, and Maggie tells Bird about the smoke signal. Maggie says they need to postpone the plan, but Narvaez wants to attack now. Armstrong tries to find middle ground, suggesting that if they move forward tonight instead, that they can surprise the Croat. A frustrated Maggie asks why she was brought along if no one is going to listen to her. Maggie wants to leave, but Narvaez threatens to hang her and Hershel, leading to the Major taking a punch to the face. Mother and son are then taken prisoner, held alone on the bottom floor of the ferry. The Croat's men, including a glum Negan, prepare for their attack. Wanting to inspire him, he tells the story to Victor of how the old Negan once fed his enemies walker meat, making them sick. For a second, Negan almost looks happy, but it's an act that disappears the moment the Croat walks away. A tied-up Maggie begs Pearlie to get the ferry to turn back before it's too late, but there's nothing he can do. Narvaez, with Bird at her side, steers the boat into the night, but as they come upon the wrecked skyline, they start running into mines that explode all around them. While everyone else is freaking out, a calm Jinny rescues Maggie and Hershel. The boy is frozen in fear, but Maggie gets him to focus as they run to the top and start to release a small rescue boat. It's then that the bombs, commanded by Negan, start falling, killing Charlie Bird and easily destroying the ferry. Maggie was right. New Babylon likes to play dress-up as soldiers, but they don't know what they're doing. Negan smiles at his accomplishment until he sees Hershel getting on an escape boat. It makes him hesitate, allowing enough time to pass before he commands the last bomb to fly. The Croat sees it all. Back at the church, the Dama is excited about the victory. 2 of her men bring in a ferry survivor, Benjamin Pierce, who is New Babylon's historian. Pierce thinks he recognizes the Dama somehow, who decides to let Pierce live for now. Turning from him, she asks Negan who he was trying to spare on the ferry. It's then that Victor walks in. Negan immediately goes from glum to worried, telling Dama to take whatever she's planning out on him. He can only watch as the Dama asks Victor to play his violin for them. The musician does as he's told, playing beautifully despite his fear. Negan tries to stop what's going to happen with a half-truth, telling Dama he was stalling to save a random kid, but he's pushed back down in his chair. When the music stops, Dama congratulates Victor for his talent, getting him to smile proudly, before jamming a pen deep into his neck, killing him. Negan saved one life, which then cost another. The ferry survivors, forced to flee by a group of walkers, are resting in a Manhattan alley, but with engines approaching, Maggie tells them that they need to hide, and she knows just the place. Mother and son then get a moment alone, where Hershel apologizes and Maggie cries as a sullen Jinny looks on. The girl then checks to make sure the gun she brought is still in her backpack because she has her own plans. Surprisingly, the New Babylon troops listen to Maggie, and as the episode comes to an end, the survivors walk into the tall grass of an unkempt Central Park. With a flashback, as a captive Hershel is offered food by an apologetic Dama. She sets the boy free from his restraints, speaking nicely to him and gaining his trust. It's what Hershel's thinking about now as he marches with Maggie and the ferry survivors through Central Park. During their trek, a walker attacks, killing a woman before quickly being dispatched by Hershel. He notices that the walker has a strange hole in its chest, but what he doesn't see is a girl watching him in the distance. Meanwhile, the Croat, Negan, and another man, Waylon, are driving through the streets, but the Croat doesn't think they'll find any survivors. He tells Negan that he knows he let the lifeboat get away because he draws the line at kids, so he promises that if the child is found, he'll deal with them instead. All Negan can do is sit there glum and silent. As Maggie and Pearlie Armstrong discuss finding shelter and taking a rest, Hothead Narvaez is focused on continuing the mission and searching for the methane despite their depleted forces. Pearlie agrees with Narvaez, but he also thinks that Maggie should be allowed to do things her way. That might not matter because as the group moves through a field with grass taller than they are, hidden walkers emerge, taking out several in the group. Surrounded, those who live are split up as they run off. Among them is Jinny, who is forced to leave the bag containing her secret gun behind, which is found by Hershel. Hershel runs into the mysterious girl who was watching him, who pulls him to safety, then walks away without a word. Negan finally speaks during an outdoor lunch with the Croat, asking why the Dama treats him so horribly. The Croat talks about how the Dama saved him, which sounds a lot like how she saved Hershel. He knows she can be cruel, but she seeks to bring out everyone's full potential. The Croat also knows that Negan has gone soft. Negan asks to go into Central Park alone. We know he wants to save Hershel, but the Croat isn't stupid, so he has Waylon go with him. Unable to find Hershel, the rest of the group, now at the entrance of Central Park, are forced to leave it by a horde of walkers, even though on the other side stands a group of people dressed in garb from another time. The group takes them in, and we are introduced to their leader, Roxana, who doesn't appreciate the walker attention they've brought. For now, though, she'll protect them until the threat has passed and have her people look for Hershel. Pearlie shoots his shot, trying to persuade the group to come back with them, but they won't leave. This is their home. When Maggie tells him to let them be, he gives up and listens. But that doesn't stop Narvaez from getting him alone and telling him that Maggie's wrong. Hershel sits alone by a fountain, Jinny's gun next to him, as we're taken to another flashback of the Dama entering his cell as he's drawing the destroyed New York skyline. She brings up Negan, but Hershel doesn't care. It's his mom who's obsessed with him. The Dama continues to manipulate him, saying that they're alike and his feelings matter, even if his own mother doesn't notice him. The Dama is the one who really sees him, and the confused look on Hershel's face tells us that's all he wants. Back in the present, the girl comes out of the woods and finds Hershel's drawing. Negan and Waylon are now in a Central Park tunnel, but when the latter is attacked, Negan throws walkers in his path and leaves him behind to die. Waylon doesn't go down easy, though, and the next time we see him, he's badly wounded but still alive as he stumbles upon Hershel and the girl. He attacks them, stabbing the girl in the leg, giving time for Hershel to pull out Jinny's gun. Scared to pull the trigger, Waylon approaches, only to be stabbed to death from behind by Negan. An angry Hershel aims the gun at Negan, pulling the trigger but aiming wide, allowing the man to escape. Hershel helps the girl escape and get back to her group, but he plays dumb when Maggie brings up hearing a gunshot. Another scene from the past shows that the Dama left his cell door open, giving him his freedom. Walkers wait in the hallway outside, but the Dama is there to help him. She takes Hershel through the theater she lives in, showing him a large, grand room filled with art, and tells him it belongs to him. She speaks to him about reinvention, before revealing that his room is an elevator. The Dama sends it to the top floor and opens a window, exposing the skyline and Central Park beyond. She wants to rebuild the destroyed world, to make new rules and be new people, and Hershel can draw it for her. Back in the present, shaken from his memory, Hershel gives Jinny her pack back without saying what he found inside. He then admits to his mom that Negan saved him, before getting angry about how much she thinks about him. Meanwhile, everyone stands around quietly as the girl dies. The group wails in unison at her passing before cutting out her heart. Now we know why the earlier walker had a hole in its chest. Negan returns to the Croat, telling him that Waylon is dead, but conveniently leaving out the part about him causing it. He lies again and says that the New Babylon soldiers are dead, but the Croat looks suspiciously at the blood on his hand. Next, we saw the girl's body is left in the park, where it reanimates as walkers eat her heart from an altar. Maggie goes to Hershel and brings up their conversation by asking if the city has a hold on him. Her son says he's not afraid of New York. He sees it as abandoned and ignored, an island that no one saved. That's over now, and New York can be free and rebuilt. He might as well be talking about himself. One last flashback sees the Dama telling Hershel that he is going to have to make some hard sacrifices, and when he goes home, there may be some things he will have to do. Has the time come for Maggie to be afraid of her very own child? Fourth episode begins with Bugal, one of the leaders of the New York groups, talking to a chained-up walker about his excitement to see the city lit up again. Negan, the Croat, and the Dama are there to make nice, so they can convince him to help fight New Babylon. Benjamin Pierce is with them too, having been brought along in the trunk. The Dama tells Negan not to mess things up today, while she hopes aloud that his family is still safe during their travels. Without being too explicit, she is threatening Negan into submission. Bugal meets the Dama's people in the museum he lives in, and she's brought some walker-produced methane with her as a gift. Everyone's being way too nice as Bugal takes everyone on a tour. He tries to impress the Dama with his famous art collection, including a painting of George Washington crossing the Delaware. The Croat changes the subject, talking about Bugal's champion walker fighter, who has won 26 fights in a row. He questions how this could be, which makes the Dama nervous, but Bugal invites the group to watch his fighter compete in person. Bugal and the Dama's people sit around a large table watching a walker fight, but the Croat isn't pleased by what he sees. It doesn't help when Bugal also makes fun of his accent. Meanwhile, Benjamin Pierce does himself no favors when he suddenly remembers who the Dama is. She used to be a famous critic, but later attacked a writer who made a play mocking her. The Dama looks embarrassed, but Negan loves it. She changes the subject to Hershel and his drawings. The Dama knows it was he whom Negan was trying to save. Hershel tells Maggie and Pearlie Armstrong about seeing Negan in Central Park. That's bad for Pearlie, seeing as how he told everyone that he killed Negan. Hershel mentions the gun he found in Jinny's bag, too. New Babylon, still staying with Roxana's people, is ready to take a small group to look for the methane being held by the Dama. Narvaez isn't happy about it, but Pearlie is in charge now. Maggie, Hershel, and Pearlie head out for the museum. Maggie reminisces about a memory of Glenn, which only makes Hershel uncomfortable, as he says he doesn't see what was so great about the old world, which was full of fighting and killing. In a quiet moment, Maggie tells Pearlie that she knows she seems hard on the outside, but she's terrified all the time. Pearlie understands, and he wonders if they're trying to bring back a world that their children don't even want. Meanwhile, Narvaez has found Jinny's gun, and she questions why she's there. Jinny has no problem saying that she's there to kill the man who killed her father. The gun was stolen from Narvaez, who speaks about law and retribution before giving the weapon back to Jinny. She knows Negan is the man Jinny is looking for. Back at the museum, Bruegel and the Dama have now come to an alliance, which is celebrated at a dinner. Bruegel wants a small change, though, in the form of a second methane factory built in his museum. The Croat finally snaps, yelling that they hold all the cards, and again accuses him of having a walker fighter who somehow cheats. Has it been injected with drugs of some sort? Bruegel is offended, but Negan steps in. He proposes a walker fight between Bruegel's champion and one of their choosing. If Bruegel wins, he gets his methane factory. If their walker wins, he joins the alliance without any addendums. Bruegel agrees. Maggie talks to Hershel on a rooftop about a memory of him chasing fireflies when he was little. He remembers it well because his mother was very sad and crying, and he wanted to cheer her up by catching a lightning bug. She apologizes to her son, but before she can say more, Pearlie catches a glimpse of Negan and others catching a walker and taking it with them without killing it. The trio then finds a way to sneak into the museum, with the plan being to create a distraction to get Negan alone. Inside, Bruegel and Negan get their walker combatants ready, with Negan's being much smaller than the champion. As they're preparing, Bruegel is alerted that his Washington painting is on fire. The Croat likes it, but with the smile on Negan's face, he seems to know they're not alone. He excuses himself and finds Maggie in another room. She tells him that she didn't come back for him. Pearlie is there too, wanting to know about the methane operation. Maggie asks to speak with Negan alone, telling him that she wants to get Hershel back home as soon as possible. Negan can't help her, though, because of his family's safety, but he does give her an address. He also warns Maggie that the Dama has got to Hershel somehow, and he can't be trusted. On cue, Hershel runs into the Dama, who is surprised but happy to see him. With the walker battle about to start, Negan pours oil on his to make it slippery, while Maggie hides behind a column. Wanting to create a diversion, Negan jumps into the cage, allowing Maggie to escape, but before she can, she's frozen by the sight of the Dama, who looks right at Maggie with no concern. As expected, Bruegel's walker wins the fight, and afterward, Negan whispers something to him that we can't hear. Bruegel, despite winning the bet, decides to show that he's trustworthy by joining the alliance with no strings attached. As this is happening, Maggie and Hershel make it back to the rooftop separately, but her son won't tell her what took so long for him to come back. The Dama is amazed by what Negan was able to accomplish. She asks Negan to ride back home in the car with her. The look on the Croat's face says that he isn't so happy that his spot is being threatened. Bruegel is back in his quarters talking to his walker champion, who is revealed to not be a walker at all. Instead, we meet a man who's eating a rat but isn't all there. His name is Tony, Bruegel's former bodyguard. With their secret now out, Bruegel has no use for him, so he slits Tony's throat. As he looks out at the New York skyline, he says, "I'm not out of moves just yet." Fifth episode begins by showing several men breaking into Radio City Music Hall and killing the power. Maggie Rhee, Pearlie Armstrong, and Hershel are on their way back to the park when Hershel stops to sit on a bench. Maggie joins him and asks him about the drawing he made of the Dama. He asks her what it was like seeing Negan Smith and what he said. He tells him Negan said they should leave. Negan and the Croat meet with the Dama to discuss the outage. The Dama says the outage makes them look weak. The Croat says it is being handled. She then brings up getting Christos and his men to join their causes. Negan asks about his family and Christos being the final piece to get them back. She tells him if he gets Christos on board, they are good. The Dama suggests that Negan go alone to meet with Christos. The Croat insists on going, but she tells him he will be busy cleaning up his mess. When Maggie, Hershel, and Pearlie enter the park, they are detained by new Federation forces. Inside, Major Lucia Narvaez lets them know that Roxana is being held until she agrees to join the Federation. She also has Pearlie taken into custody for treason with Negan. Maggie tries taking up for him and verifying his kill, but Narvaez nearly has her arrested as well, until Pearlie tells her about Negan being with the Croat. Narvaez has Pearlie detained. She asks Maggie about the location of the methane. Maggie doesn't tell her, but she does tell her about the Croat having 50 to 100 people guarding the facility. Narvaez threatens Hershel and tells Maggie she is going to go to Negan and the Croat and arrange their surrender in exchange for Negan and the Croat escorting them off the island unmolested. Narvaez suspects when they come to the boathouse to collect them, they will be overwhelmed by the dead. While investigating the outage, the Croat goes off on one of his men when he questions him. Not long into the investigation, the Croat finds a cut wire. Maggie sets off on her own to meet with Negan, while Negan goes to meet with Christos. Pearlie and Roxana talk about kids while they are locked up together. She also tells him about her uncle and how he used his bird to make decisions. Negan brings Christos a tank of methane and asks him if he is going to join their side. Christos tells him they are not interested. Not long into their conversation, several children come running into the room, looking for Christos. Negan apologizes and tells him he misunderstood the situation and didn't realize Christos had people he was trying to protect. Maggie knocks out one of the guards and tries to free Roxana and Pearlie. He tells her Narvaez will kill her, all her people, and her son. She says they will have to catch her. Christos tells Negan about his time battling with Bugal and how this new alliance proposal sounds like another rigged game. Negan tells him the Croat, New Babylon, or someone will one day come for them. The harder he fights for them, the bigger peace he will be able to claim. Before things get any further, the Croat interrupts and accuses Christos of knocking out the power. Negan tries talking the Croat down, but he tells him the gas has already been running and they only have about 30 seconds. Seconds later, men start dropping while the Croat and his men put on gas masks. After they are out, they start hacking them out. Later in the car, the Croat tells Negan he let the women and children live. Narvaez questions Hershel about Maggie's relationship with Negan. Hershel sees Maggie sneaking into the room and tries to position Narvaez so that Maggie can attack her from behind. Before Maggie gets too close, Narvaez realizes what's going on and intercepts Maggie. Seconds later, Jinny busts into the room with a gun and holds it at Hershel. On their way back to meet with the Dama, Negan stops the Croat and tells him not to sweat the Dama because he has his back. Pearlie tells Roxana he should have stopped Maggie. She tells him if he stops fearing what he thinks are endings, he will see new beginnings. She then has him pick something out of a sack, like her uncle's bird used to do. She tells him the man is getting old, and he only has life left in him for one last journey, or the bird could get help. The Dama chews out the Croat for killing Christos and his men. This time, he speaks out against her. She tells him they will speak about this when he's gotten a hold of himself. Narvaez gives Roxana one last chance to change her mind before she hangs her. Roxana tells the people not to be afraid because she is joining them. Before she can finish the rest of her speech, Narvaez has her woman kick the block out from under Roxana. Roxana's people begin moaning just as Maggie is about to be hung. Before she can be hung, the sound of the moaning causes the walkers to bust into the park. In the struggle, the stool gets kicked out from under Maggie. Jinny ends up saving her. By the time Maggie is free, Narvaez has Hershel held hostage but is out of bullets. She heads off into the walker horde. Maggie goes after her. Narvaez focuses too much on Maggie coming after her and leaves her back unprotected. As a walker, Roxana ends up getting her from behind. Later that night, the Dama finds her rat dead. Pearlie, Jinny, Hershel, and Maggie collect themselves back at Roxana's hideout. While they are there, Hershel tells Maggie the truth about the picture of the Dama. Maggie asks him about the smoke signal, but he doesn't really admit to it. He tells her that she was nice and they talked about her plans for the city. She tells him it's okay because they are going to go home now. Before the conversation gets any further, they hear a knock outside. When they go outside, they see Bugal and his men. The Croat goes to speak with the Dama. She jumps onto him again because of the rat. This leads to a huge argument, one being nothing without the other. This soon turns physical, and she bites his hand. He knocks her down, which in the process knocks over a bunch of candles and a decorative piece. The Dama gets trapped under the piece, and the Croat leaves her to burn. The episode ends with showing Negan cleaning the rat guts out from under his boot. Sixth episode begins by showing Brugal taking New Babylon back to his stronghold. Once they are inside, one of his guards is attacked by what sounds like a large monster. Elsewhere, the Croat tries explaining the Dama's death to Negan Smith. Negan asks him what comes next for him. The Croat tells him his family will be arriving tomorrow and they can choose to leave or stay. Maggie Rhee, Hershel Rhee, and Pearlie Armstrong discuss what they are going to do now they are with Brugal. Before the conversation gets very far, they are summoned to meet with Brugal. He apologizes for the treatment and tells them they are free to leave if they want, but there is no sense in leaving on an empty stomach. After they stay, Brugal tells them he is impressed with what they've done on the mainland, and there is nothing more he would like than to be colonized by them. He then offers to give them the methane and throw in the extermination of Negan and the Croat. Maggie asks if they are just supposed to trust him after she saw him being chummy with the Croat. Brugal says being chummy was necessary at the time. Pearlie tells him they will think his offer over, but before anything else transpires, one of Brugal's people busts in with the guard who was attacked. Brugal tries to find out who or what attacked her, but she dies. The Croat has a breakdown over the Dama and Negan possibly leaving with his family. Negan tries to comfort him and tells him that he could also walk away. Pearlie considers taking Brugal's offer, but Maggie tries talking him out of it. He asks if there is another way to get the methane. She says she, him, Hershel, and Jinny can do it. He reminds her that she once wanted Negan dead and asks why it matters that he lives now. Before she can answer, Jinny storms off. They decide to sleep on it. Negan asks the Croat what he would do if he could go anywhere. He tells him he would go home to Croatia, but he crashed his boat into the island. He asks Negan to come with him and says he could bring his family. Negan tells him he can't. During this conversation, the Croat notices the bottom of Negan's boot. After this, the Croat connects two and two and realizes it was Negan who killed the rat and set it up to make it look like it was him who did it. They race towards Lucille, and the Croat gets to her first and knocks Negan down. The Barazzi stand at attention, but the Croat tells them to stand down. The fight is between him and Negan. Negan manages to wrestle the bat away, the Croat, and hits him with it several times. The Barazzi still stand at attention, but do not intervene. Negan tells the Croat he saved him from the Dama, and he made him who he is. The Croat eventually ends up agreeing, and they stop fighting. Negan tells him to leave and to never come back. The Croat leaves. Jinny tries cleaning the wound on her side, but Maggie walks in on her. Maggie tells her that when this is all said and done, she and Hershel will be heading back to the bricks, and she is welcome to come with them. When Jinny doesn't say anything, Maggie begins talking about the time she thought about killing Negan and what it cost her not to do so. Maggie also tells her that she sees herself in her, but she can't help her because she can't help herself. Negan heads back to his cell, but only stays a few seconds. He then grabs a torch and walks to the end of the corridor where he opens a chamber. Inside is Benjamin Pierce. Negan frees him and tells him he is free to go. Benjamin says he wants to go home but doesn't have the first clue how to get there. They spend several minutes talking about history and Benjamin being a historian. Negan tells him about how he used to run his people and how he thought he was keeping them safe. Hershel wakes in the middle of the night and tries to poison New Babylon's canteen with walker blood, but Maggie catches him. This leads to an argument, and him asking what it matter, because if New Babylon leaves, she gets what she wants too. She tells him it's not the same as before, and he doesn't know what they are doing to Negan, but it doesn't matter because they are going home tomorrow. He tells her that's not home. He walks off and she tries stopping him, but he pushes her away. When he opens the door to leave, he sees a monster. They manage to close the door just in time as the monster approaches. They both then take off running and split up. When Maggie makes it to Brugal's fighting arena, she encounters what appears to be an infected bear. She takes off running and frees the walkers tied to the wall. They go after the bear, giving her just enough time to escape. The bear quickly dispatches the walkers, while Maggie tries to escape but fails. Just as the bear is about to attack Maggie, Hershel throws a knife and hits it in the head. He throws another and hits it again. Maggie ducks into Bruegel's fighting area while the bear stands on its hind legs and swings wildly. It eventually drops down and lands on the sharp points of the cage surrounding the fighting arena. Maggie goes looking for Hershel and winds up a Radio City Hall. Negan finds her and tells her Hershel isn't there. He also tells her the Dama is dead and she has a special way of reading people. He tells her he wasn't lying about his situation, he just figured it out. She says he always does. He tells her King Francis Theater is the only place he can think that Hershel might go if he thought the Dama was alive. She tells him Bugal is planning an ambush for him. He asks about Jinny. He tells her that his wife and kid will be there soon and asks what he should tell them. She doesn't say anything and simply walks away. Bruegel's men are cleaning up the mess in the arena when Pearlie approaches and finds the throwing knives. He tells Jinny he can't find Maggie or Hershel, but he's got a good feeling they left that bear. When Negna's wife and child arrive, he tells his people to take them back to Tennessee. Pearlie tells Bugal he isn't going to take his deal. Bugal asks him if he's not worried about Negan, which shouldn't even be possible because he shot him dead. Bugal then shows him a transformed Major Lucia Narvaez and says he found her first before she fully turned and when she was lucid enough to tell him everything. Negan and his men are returning to base when he tells them to go inside without him. He stands outside to reflect for just a few minutes before Jinny shows up and pulls her pistol on him. She stands pointing her gun at him a few minutes before she collapses. He takes her inside and finds her wound. This is where the episode ends. 7th episode begins as Maggie is looking for Hershel at the theater. Instead of finding him, she finds the Croat. The Croat initially says he doesn't know where Hershel is, but after she threatens him, he tells her he might be able to help her. Negan wakes from a nightmare and is joined by Benjamin Pierce with supplies to tend to Jinny. Benjamin also points out that she is still breathing, which means she is fighting the infection. Negan says once she is better, she is going straight home. While they wait, Negan also tells Benjamin about his first wife's battle with cancer and his second wife, Annie. He says he failed both of his wives, but God keeps giving him second chances. After looking through the supplies Benjamin brought, Negan notices a bottle of cream for burns. Negan makes him take him to where he got the cream. The man he got it from tells Negan a story about a nurse who went around grabbing all the meds she could before things went bad with the walkers. She supposedly stashed them somewhere in the 3rd floor operating room. When Negan learns he is talking about Bellevue Hospital, he walks off. The Croat takes Maggie to the special room the Dama had restored for Hershel, but he isn't there either. During their brief conversation, the Croat realizes there might be another place that Hershel went to. Negan leaves Benjamin in charge of Jinny so he can go to the hospital and retrieve the medication. Before he leaves, Negan has a conversation with Benjamin about why he is helping him. The Croat and Maggie arrive at the safe house about the same time Negan arrives at Bellevue Hospital. Negan gets in right away and locates the floor he is looking for. Maggie and the Croat enter the 1st floor of the safe house and begin traversing the stairwell toward the top. They also have to avoid several traps along the way, the Croat previously set. It doesn't take Negan long to make it to the 3rd floor. At one point, he encounters a child walker and refuses to kill it, which causes him to get knocked down and hit his head. Meanwhile, the Croat and Maggie have to sneak past some walkers of their own. Maggie doesn't have a problem dealing with them, but is becoming obviously worn. She even hallucinates and nearly gets overrun by several walkers. After that, she passes out. Negan wakes to find the child walker standing over top of him. He manages to wrestle himself away and gets free. Maggie wakes to find the Croat sitting at a desk, working on a flashlight. He briefly explains to her how he learned to work on things. His relationship with his mother reminds him of Hershel and Maggie's relationship. Maggie shares a bit about her relationship with her parents. Shortly after this, he fixes the light and hands it to her. Negan encounters a whole ward of infected children. He chooses to sneak by them, but nearly has a mishap when he hears someone running on the floor above him. When the Croat and Maggie reach the bridge crossing, she has a hard time and has to sit down. The Croat does his best to coax her across. About halfway across, she has to stop and rest against a wall. While resting, she is attacked by several walkers, but manages to get the better of them. The only problem is she winds up on the ground during the fight, and the glass begins to crack. The Croat continues trying to coax her across, but it is as if she is frozen in place. When she does start to move, another walker comes along and grabs her leg. Negan is looking for the medication when he hears someone above him again. This time, the masked individual drops to the ground right in front of him and runs. Negan pursues, and they wind up backtracking through the infected children. Negan manages to eventually catch the thief, but when he does, the back is empty, and the thief is revealed to be his wife, Lucille. He apologizes to her. She tells him he did everything for her. He says it wasn't enough. Seconds after this, Negan sees Annie and his son. He tells them he failed them and doesn't know what to do. She looks over at a walker who is blocked out of the room. Negan goes over, opens the door, and kills the walker. When he does, he discovers some kind of medical machine. Not long after that, he looks back behind him and sees Jinny. When the Croat and Maggie arrive on the top floor, she realizes he lied to her. She takes out her knife and asks him if this is a game for him. At one point, she holds him out an open window and questions and threatens him at the same time. He eventually tells her he brought her there to say goodbye. She pulls him back in and considers jumping herself, but he eventually stops her. Sometime later, he tells her the truth about his mother leaving when he was 12. He apparently found her 2 days after she had passed. As they are talking, Maggie notices a light in the window across the street. Negan returns to Jinny with the machine he found in the hospital. He tells Benjamin about the people coming to kill them. Benjamin suggests they leave, but Negan insists he is staying with Jinny because he now knows how to protect her. After exiting the supposed safe house, Maggie and the Croat shake hands and say goodbye. The Croat ventures off while Maggie goes in after the light she saw. It doesn't take her long to locate Hershel. He tells her he is glad she is there. She apologizes for how everything went down. He apologizes as well and tells her everything is going to work out now. Before Maggie can say anything else, the Dama comes in and knocks Maggie out. This is where the episode ends. 8th episode begins with Bugal telling Pearlie Armstrong that Negan Smith is willing to meet. Pearlie asks if there is any sign of the girl yet. Bugal tells him to relax. The girl is just fine. Pearlie doesn't believe him, and just as soon as Bugal starts walking away, Pearlie attacks him and asks where the girl is once again. This time, Bugal tells him the girl came to him and said she would kill Negan, so they gave her a lift. Bugal uses his wrist knife and frees himself from Pearlie's hold. Bugal says this is good because he now knows the girl means something to Negan, and he can use that if he has to. Negan is watching over Jinny when Benjamin Pierce walks in and tells him they are waiting for him upstairs. Negan tells him the show is about to start and he doesn't have to stick around if he doesn't want. Benjamin tells him he is with him and has nowhere else to go. Maggie finds herself being held hostage. She is trying to free herself when in walks the Dama. Maggie asks her where Hershel is, and the Dama says he is here of his own volition. While the Dama begins cutting up walnuts for Maggie to eat, Maggie asks if she isn't supposed to be dead. The Dama laughs, but suddenly notices that Maggie is trying to free herself. The Dama threatens to harm Hershel, and Maggie gives up the keys she got from the nearby filing cabinet. Bugal and his men meet with Negan and offers him a 17th century statue as a housewarming gift. In return, Negan offers them lunch, but Bugal refuses and says they should get right down to business. Negan says so much work went into the feast, and he'd hate to have it go to waste. Bugal tells him to go ahead and eat, and they'll wait. Negan and his men eat the food. Seconds later, Negan and his men lock the doors to the meeting hall and turn over the table. Out from under the table comes a bunch of walkers. Negan and his men then burn a ring around Bugal and his men with the methane torches so they can't escape. The Dama tells Maggie she thinks she is using Hershel. The Dama says she is because Hershel never knew the old world. Therefore, he could dream up something neither of them could. The Dama says they will also need someone to protect that new world. She thought that would be Negan, but Maggie now seems like a better prospect. Maggie asks if she wants her to come at Negan. The Dama tells her she thought they would both want Negan dead. The Dama then tries convincing Maggie that she is the only one who can kill Negan, and he needs to be killed. Bugal and his men fight off the walkers the best they can, while Negan and his people watch. At one point, Bugal tells his men to push over the statue. Pearlie does so, and when it busts open, there are several weapons inside. Pearlie grabs the weapons and begins distributing them to their people. Negan and his men retreat to get their own weapons. Bugal grabs one of the methane torches and starts burning whoever is close. Hershel goes to see Maggie. He apologizes to her for the way the Dama hit her. She tells him he was right. She isn't over Negan. She knows she needs to drop it, but she can't seem to. He tells her he knows she tries, but it's not working. He says he wants them to be free, but there is only one way. She tells him she'll finish it and come back for him. Benjamin gets an escort to go look at the cannons the Barazi used to defeat New Babylon, while everything goes down at the church. While up there, his escort notices a motorboat on the water, along with several small rowboats. Before either of them can do anything, a man busts onto the roof and shoots Benjamin's escort. He asks Benjamin who he is with. Benjamin tells him he is with New Babylon. Bugal still has the methane torch and is looking for Negan. Instead, he finds Jinny. When he starts yelling out to her, Pearlie attacks him. Before they know it, the both of them are surrounded by Negan and his men. Bugal tries blaming the whole thing on Pearlie, but it doesn't work. Maggie also joins the party and watches in secret. Negan makes Bugal and Pearlie get on their knees. Bugal tries talking Negan out of killing him by saying they can use the methane to do great things. Negan says if he wants the methane that bad, he should just take it. He then takes a methane torch and shoots methane in Bugal's mouth. After that, he takes a torch and burns his insides. While this goes down, Pearlie takes off running. Negan goes after him and tells him guards to stand watch. Maggie ends up coming out of hiding and killing Negna's guards. Pearlie uses the distraction to go after Negan. The two end up fighting, but Negan gets the better of him. Just as Negan is about to smash Pearlie with Lucille, Maggie stabs him in the back. Negan tries getting away, but he picks up Lucille and goes after him. He crawls with the knife in his back all the way to Jinny's room. Both Maggie and Pearlie follow him, and when they get there, they discover that Jinny has transformed into a walker. Maggie gives Negan her knife, and he kills Jinny. Pearlie and Maggie find a safe place for Negan. Pearlie pulls the knife out of his back. Negan tells them he was so busy looking out for Jinny that he just missed it, and she died alone. Maggie says there is something she has to do and leaves. Maggie returns to Hershel, and he notices immediately that she didn't kill Negan. This causes him to lash out at her. She tells him they were wrong and that killing Negan would only make things worse. He tells her it doesn't matter because he and the Dama will get there anyway. She tells him that she won't leave the city and she'll always be there for him. He storms off. Maggie returns to Negan and Pearlie. It is only seconds after this that they see the second wave of New Babylon marching through the streets. Negan says that's it, they'll get the methane. Maggie asks where they will go next. The three of them spend the next few minutes talking about where they'll go, but they decide the only way to move on is to work through what was. This is where the episode ends.